So a lot of you have been asking me how I'm dealing with moisture issues since I am up here in the wet Pacific Northwest, and I'm just now trying to find a solution for it because it really hasn't been that bad, believe it or not. I expected it to be a bigger problem since, as you all know, I don't have insulation. I don't have insulation because I wasn't expecting to be anywhere other than Southern California for the next several years. But now that I am up here for who knows how long, I need to kind of sort out a problem. Now I have an idea to fix it, so I've come down here to my garage, in other words, Home Depot, and I'm going to work on trying to find a solution for it. So let's see how this goes. Alright, so my idea here is that I'm going to use cork in a couple different forms to give a little bit of a thermal break between the bare metal of the roof of the van and the cold. Now, this section is really the only section that I get condensation. Believe it or not, it's kind of odd. But then I started to figure out that right below this section is where my floor vent is. So when I turn my heater on, and I get a little bit of warm air in the van, as soon as I turn the heater on, or as soon as I turn my stove on, cold air comes rushing up through the bottom of the van and hits the top of the van in the back here, and this bare metal, and that's where I get condensation. It's odd because I don't really get condensation anywhere except for this area. So you're probably saying, why don't you use, Reflectix? Why don't you use something else? The fact is I'm really chemically sensitive. So if I were to use anything that was plastic or rubber or asphalt based, which I know a lot of other van dwellers use in their vans, if I went with one of those products, it would probably cause me a little bit of trouble trying to sleep and be in the van. So the idea was to use something as natural as possible, and cork is fairly mold and mildew resistant, so even if it did get a little bit of moisture in it, it shouldn't rot and degrade, at least right away. Although I have to say, I've never seen anybody else use cork in this manner, so this is a little bit of just a trial and error to see if it'll work. I don't know if it's going to work, but I hope it works. I bought these little cork sheets at Fred Meyer last night when I was getting groceries. I don't know if Home Depot sells them. I didn't look. It was kind of an afterthought, but my idea was to go with this cork shelf liner that Home Depot does sell, and apparently nobody else sells, just Home Depot. But I'm going to use a combination of the shelf liner and the thicker cork tiles. The reason I bought the tiles is because the roofs of vans have this kind of little channel here. You can see it's quite a big gap between this and this, and I'm hoping to have one just sheet of cork across the top. Because I think if I try to bend this shelf liner too much, I think it's just going to crack. I probably could have just gone with the cork tiles like I have there, but they are kind of small to fit in between these gaps. I just didn't want to do a whole lot of cutting and fitting, so I just thought the shelf liner would be good, and the shelf liner is actually fairly cheap. So I'm gluing this in place with some spray adhesive, and this is the brand I've used before. It comes in 3 different grades. This is the strongest, heaviest duty of them. Well, I'm doing a fairly sloppy job of getting this in here, but so far, one, I'm learning what to do for next time I try to tackle this. And two, I really like the look of the cork. I thought I should point out that in the past, I've had a little bit of issue with these panels. So, you know, my van is a commercial van, so there's no windows in the back. These are just metal panels that are installed. Now, these sections, I actually had a little bit of an issue with moisture when I was in Southern California. So I'd taken and I'd added some Reflectix, and you know, most everybody knows what Reflectix is. Reflectix is just basically bubble wrap that has foil on both sides of it. People use it for insulation. It doesn't work very well for insulating, but I was kind of experimenting down in Southern California to see if it would work for me. It did work in stopping the moisture down there. And also as a side benefit, it gives me a little bit of soundproofing. You know, I normally sleep on the street, and so it can be a little bit noisy. So it did help for just kind of sound deadening to add the Reflectix to the panels here. Since I like the look of the cork on the ceiling, I think I will go ahead and swap the Reflectix out, which I don't like the look of. So I'll tear this out and probably add some cork to these panels as well. Hopefully the cork will give me kind of that sound deadening that I'm looking for. And just in case I have moisture problems along the sides of the door, you know, it's just now starting to get cold, so I'm trying to stay ahead of any problems that might develop. So that's why I'm trying to do this now. I didn't buy enough cork to do all of the ceiling because this section was the only section that was giving me problems. But because I like the look of it so much, I think I'll go ahead and just finish off the sections that I can now just with the rest of the product that I have before it gets too dark. So I better carry on with it now and before it gets too dark. And I am getting some strange looks from the Home Depot employees for some reason at this location. They usually don't care, but they keep coming out and staring at me, so I better get a move on with it. Thanks for watching, and leave me some feedback if you'd like. Like I said before, this is an experiment, so I don't know if it's going to work, but it's a cheap experiment. You know, if it doesn't work, it's a cheap, easy thing to rip out and replace. So and actually, since I like the look of it so much, I am really hoping that it does the trick for me. So time will tell, and I'll just have to give you an update down the road. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.